May seem odd since we have some neat Land Rovers around here. Doesn't sound great. Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. Today is new Land Rover Day, which in turn always means today is a great day. All right, so we are just about to embark on another journey, adventure as we like to call them, for what is possibly one of my dream Land Rovers. I've been casually looking for one of these. I don't really need another Land Rover, but this just happened to pop up in a somewhat close vicinity, 3.5 hours away. But with something this rare, you have to jump on the opportunity. One note, just because I said dream Land Rover, I don't mean good Land Rover. And after what felt like 3 hours sitting in traffic, we are just about here. And we made it. That is right, we have what is possibly the finest piece of automotive machinery ever made. We've made it 60 miles with this thing so far. And if you know Freelanders, you know that's a feat in itself. We got about 100 left. We'll catch up with you back at the ranch, hopefully. 100 more miles might be a monumental task. And we made it back to the ranch. One observation during the trip is the cup holders. Look at this freaking bucket of soda, and it swallows it right up. In many European vehicles, that is typically not the norm. They don't fit American buckets of soda. I really didn't need one this big, but we ate at Sbarro's at the Belvedere Oasis, and this is what they gave us. Probably a bit much. There is two things I need to address real quick. One is just a major pet peeve of mine. This belongs in there with my gallon of soda. I had a little dealership for many years, and let me tell you, 10 times out of 10, this seat damage looks better out in the open than putting a cheesy seat cover on it. But that's just my opinion. If you're not gonna fix it, leave it. And number two, not exactly sure if this is doable by myself. Probably a bit easier with two people, or that third hand I don't have. Carefully. Yep. There, the entire reason I bought this thing. How freaking cool is that? Now you may be asking why a Freelander. I really should be asking that myself, but I guess I just happen to love unloved things. And in the US at least, these guys were definitely unloved. The original Freelander went over so well that when the Freelander 2 came out, Land Rover renamed it the LR2 and ditched the Freelander badge altogether. It went over that well. But even though that I love unloved and oddball things, even I wasn't just gonna go get a regular old Freelander. As you can see, we went ahead and finally found ourselves a Freelander SE3. In the US, at least, like 95% of the Freelanders that we got over here were the boring old 4-doors. And as you can see, the SE3 3-door Freelander is quite nice because the top comes off. Unfortunately, when the top comes off, the price goes up. I've been casually, very casually, looking for one of these guys for a few years now. Most of these guys that I see for sale are either on the East Coast, Florida, out in California, maybe the Pacific Northwest, but not many in my neck of the woods. I don't see a lot of Freelanders because I live in Iowa and I also don't hang out at junkyards. There is one glaringly huge problem with Freelanders, at least the US version of the Freelander, and we'll get to that in just a minute because this may have that problem. But that's not what today is about. Today is about how happy I am to finally have one of these. And with the few miles that I've put on it, I'm truly falling in love with this. And I don't think this guy is ever going to leave the collection. There is just so many little quirks and features that I love about this thing. So on with what we got here. This is a 2003 Freelander SE3. In the US, they only came with the wonderful 2.5 liter V6 of the KV6 variety. Let me know down below if you've ever had the pleasure of owning one of those gems. But with just 125,000 miles and being 22 years old now, this thing's actually pretty freaking nice. Just don't look at that, or that, or that, or that. But the good news is, with the nearly 150% failure rate of Freelanders, I've already located a matching black hood, so that'll take care of that. We'll be able to spray this section quite easily, and I'm willing to bet there's a couple brush guards in junkyards with my name on it. But the interior on this guy is actually mighty nice. Doesn't look like it was used much outside of that driver's seat. It is a Freelander, so the OBD2 port has been well used and knocked off its bracket. That may be an indication why, according to the Carfax, I'm going to be the 12th owner. No, I'm not lying. Literally the 12th owner. Usually that's not a great indication of future success with a vehicle, especially when the last few have owned it for months at a time, not years. You guys know we're always up for that challenge though. But I just freaking love these things. Look at the door panel. Land Rover's like, nah, we don't need to cover the whole door. Just do an upper, lower, leave the metal. That would be even cooler if this thing wasn't black. But I really did need to get a black one because I've had this sitting in my office for a couple years now. It's the right color, even missing the roof rails. I do wish I had that interior though, but I got the better wheels. Funny because Ertl was started about a half hour from here. I mean, I guess the plant is still there too. Been through a few different owners now though, kind of like them. We also have the typical Land Rover completely symmetrical dash. I've said it many times before, but I love the cost savings aspect of right-hand drive, left-hand drive. We just flop a couple things around. We don't even need to change the dash. Swap the cluster with the airbag. But what about the glove box? It'd be on the wrong side. Nope, we got one there too. Our little quarter glass pops out, and say you want the sunroof open and Sasha doesn't, you just put your side up. But like I said, 100% of the reason of getting this lies in the removable hardtop in the back. I really think this is just going to be a cool thing to beat around town on nice days. And even though it is a fairly capable off-road thing, all things considered, being a front-wheel drive unibody-based vehicle, it's never going to see more than a dirt road with me. But back to our one glaring issue, an issue that seems to plague the KV6. Doesn't sound great. Sounds even worse down here. Unfortunately, in the US, we only got the 2.5 liter V6. We never got the 4-cylinder or the diesel, and this is kind of what we're stuck with. They can have some issues, and this one kind of sounds like it does have it, but it's kind of throwing me for a loop. Like I said, I've not hung around a lot of Freelanders, so we'll have to dig into this a little further. But one of the major things that can happen is if you overheat them, they can slip the cylinder sleeves, which is a little bit what that sounds like. The only thing that's throwing me for a bit of a loop is we drove this 160 miles home without overheating again or mixing coolant and oil, which is typically what would happen after that happens. So we'll have to dig into that more later, but that is not for today. Today is for celebrating finally getting my hands on what is, no lie, one of my dream Land Rovers. May seem odd since we have some neat Land Rovers around here, but I'm an odd guy. But either way, appreciate you guys watching, appreciate you subscribing, and let me know what you think of the latest addition to the Lost Cause Ranch collection. I truly do think the Freelander is the most fitting for the Lost Cause name. Man, it even has the 3 spokes, and they spared no expense with drum rear brakes.